I think so many people, that's where so many dreams go to die, is
Right.
in that whole, okay, I got this great idea, I got all this energy,
Hmm.
all this work involved. Now what do I do?
Yeah.
And it's I mean, I think sometimes more people make money selling seminars than people actually make money from the advice they get because they just
Right.
don't do it.
Right.
It isn't hard. Success leaves footprints,
Hmm.
but you got to get up and follow them.
Hmm.
And I think that's really the secret that people really need to pay attention to is not to is is to find a way to keep going. That's why I wrote the Unleash the Power of Connection.
Yes, exactly. And we could talk about the 2 minute rule if you wouldn't mind.
Welcome to the Your Message Received podcast. And now, taking your message to the finish line, your host, John Duffin.
Hey folks, John Duffin here with Duffin Media. Welcome back to another episode of Your Message Received. Your Message Received is the home, the place, the platform to help you find your most true, authentic business voice. Get what you want, find what you need, improve your results. No fluff. Get to the top. That's one of the things that our guest today is going to get to be able to do and help us with. And we love the fact people keep watching, liking, subscribing. I get to introduce folks to you, someone who absolutely has walked the walk. Dennis McCurdy happens to be a financial advisor. He's an entrepreneur and author, multiple businesses, Air Force veteran, Vietnam vet. And I find, for me, someone who, as I've gotten to know via, we both work with a service called Podmatch. The cool thing is I love the practical part of where this goes. And that's why Dennis McCurdy is here today. Hey, Dennis, welcome to the show, sir.
John, glad to be here. I was going to ask you, do you like to be called JD or John?
It's a good question. Thank you for asking. And I respond to both. Much more people refer to me as John, but JD, yeah, I like them both.
I think JD is kind of cool. So
you're very kind to say that. So let's go with it, right? Let's go.
Right.
There you go. Problem solved. I really, like I said, I appreciate the fact. First off, I'm not. My dad was a Navy vet. I'm not, but I always admire some like people that are vets. And I like bounce back and resilience stories. So if I understand correctly, you were thrown out to begin your working life at 12 years old, or maybe I have that part wrong. But
no, not at all.
For the age I think I got, I'm doubting they threw you out of the house. But anyway, talk to me. How did that go?
This was your father was my father was a drill instructor in the Army.
Okay.
So my mother's favorite saying was, Mac, they're not recruits, they're little boys. So he could be a tough one.
Okay.
So, yeah.
How did that impact you? And tough in what ways? And how did that impact you?
Just very disciplined, very, drill instructors are harping on things all the time. It's like repeat, so that could be both good and bad because when things weren't good, it was bad. So, but, okay. I think it gave us the resilience, the strength to just he grew up. I mean, I'm actually what you might call a cracker. That's
Tell me what that is.
Southern expression, which means poor. My father and my grandfather grew up as sharecroppers in Texas.
Oh, okay.
So, and a lot of the Southern boys I found stayed in the military because I think a lot of times it was the first time they had shoes all the time.
Okay.
But,
yeah.
Went off to World War II. They never owned the land. They never owned anything. They just planted cotton and picked cotton. Went to school to the 10th grade. So they were tough people. And so anyway, but always ingrained in there was the work ethic. So I started actually working at 12. I got a job at the local elementary school where I was in 6th grade.
Yeah.
Sweeping the floors after school. So my job was to empty the trash and put the chairs on the table. I got 50 cents, and then I would try to go as fast as I could so I didn't have to walk home. I could just catch the bus.
Wow.
Yeah.
So let me ask you about that. So I'm always, I'm curious when you describe that. I just have certain visuals in my mind in regards to not just your own upbringing, but the fact that it goes back a couple of generations. Your dad, his dad, and stuff like that. Um, I just picture the toughness, the discipline. Now, did that like what was that like in regards to, was it motivating, fearful? Did it hold you back? What was it like going through your mind? I mean younger, because I like I said, it sounds tough.
It was tough, and there were some other things too. But partially what it did is it made myself and my brothers
Mhm.
want not to be around the house.
Okay.
So getting a job,
Mhm.
was a great way to be away and without being in trouble
Mhm.
for it.
Mhm.
So, my brothers and I were all what you would call workers.
Ah, okay.
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 So as soon as we could find a job, as soon as we could do something to work, we
Mhm.
did it.
You
Uh,
did it. I
and
gotcha.
yeah, in fact, when I worked in a restaurant
Mhm.
where my brother was a chef for 35 years as he grew older, we used to be proud of how many hours we worked. We'd like go, "Hey, I had 50 hours this week. No, I had
Mhm.
60 hours this
Mhm.
week." It
Mhm.
was like, how much could we do?
Wow.
So we could buy our own clothes. I remember my record week was 73 hours.
But it was done as a competitive thing, and I think that's great and impressive. But I like the backstory, so it just paints a clearer picture for me. Talk
Yeah.
to me about. I love this story in terms of doing a little bit of snooping around. I love your story as it regards to uh, the way that you were placed in education. I mean the results, not where how you were
Right,
placed,
right,
but I mean
right,
the results, right?
right.
And how that went. Talk to me about that part.
So from elementary school on, I was in what I would call dumbbell reading. So me and kind
Nice.
of all the so to speak, troublemakers
Okay.
were Mrs. Sweeney's class, and that was where the people who struggled to read and with phonics went. And I spent, I think, my entire elementary school uh, time,
Mhm.
at least 1 hour, 1 period a week or 1 period a day rather, in a reading class. And most of us struggled a great deal, which is interesting because I read every day now,
Mhm.
and I've
Yep.
written 4 books.
Mhm.
So, but then I went on to high school,
Right.
and again, we had a very rough family life,
Mhm.
and so we talk about not having a desk. We just actually did have a desk. One time I think we inherited a desk. I put it in the closet upstairs in the second floor of our house, and
Why?
got a lamp so I could have an office in the closet.
Okay.
My
Okay.
brothers couldn't get at me. But so high school was not, work was interesting to me. High school was not.
Why?
And although I did in the 8th grade one time make
Mhm.
the honor roll, um,
Yeah.
and that was because, and here's one of the secrets,
Mhm.
I think, that was because for the first time in my life, I made myself a system and I stuck to it. And that system was I get home at 2:20, I have a snack, I study till 3:30. I then watch a little TV or play with my brothers outside. I
Mhm.
study another half an hour, and then it was dinner and whatever else. But for the first time in my life, I got all A's and B's and made the honor roll. Uh,
Do you remember when you were like the ability to stick with the system? Like, are your memories that you did stick with the system, that you were able, like, that's awesome.
I was religious about it, and
Why? Why
I
did
don't,
it matter to you?
I don't even. The thing is, I've thought about that. I don't even know why. I just
But you
for
did.
that one year,
Mhm.
and I even had like I saw some exercises in the Boys Life magazine where
Right.
you could use tire tubes from the old bicycles to do like rubber bands and
I
stuff.
got it.
So we did that.
Mhm.
What I have not figured out yet
Mhm.
is why I didn't do it the next year and the year after.
Okay.
I just don't understand why. It could be my personality style.
Mhm.
Could be maybe I think it was at that point as I was getting older, I was looking for more jobs outside the home,
Mhm.
uh,
Mhm.
playing sports, those
Mhm.
type of things. So the culmination of all that is out of a class of about 140 people, I graduated 8th. from the bottom.
Ah, I like the pause, by the way.
So
So you hold that mantle, so to speak, right? And when did you know or think or realize, when did you make the call that you were going to go into the service?
well, I was actually worked at a restaurant with my brothers and I all worked at the same restaurant, famous restaurant.
Mhm.
And I was supposed to go, and I was accepted to CIA, the Culinary Institute of America,
Oh, wow.
which is the
Okay.
best chef school in the country.
Sure.
Yeah, my brother actually went, and then that for some reason that summer, it was the Vietnam War was cooking.
Yep.
My father was an Army veteran. My uncle had visited us
Mhm.
from Florida. He was a retired Air Force veteran,
Mhm.
and my father said, "Don't go in the Army and don't volunteer."
Mhm.
And my uncle said, "Join the Air Force."
Ah.
So I ended up in volunteering for the Air Force, and I became a security forces, what they call security forces now. So I
Mhm.
was a guy with a gun every day, not a plane.
Okay.
And so, but
Were
that
you in
was
the thick of it?
I was in a most of the time I was actually in Vietnam. I was in a tower with a M60 machine gun, and then from there I went into I was a mortar crew. I was in the mortars, which is mortars are like they shoot rounds out 2, 3, 4 miles.
Yeah.
So it was a form of artillery, which I loved doing that. That
Mhm.
was a great job. Dangerous but great.
Dennis, here's my like I didn't miss the cut by that much.
Hmm.
I did miss the cut age-wise. Like, I missed it, I think, for that particular the Vietnam War, I
Hmm.
think I missed it by about 7 or 8 years,
Hmm.
and so close enough that there were people on my street growing up and stuff like that. Did it have the impact on you that it did on so many other people?
You know, it's a slightly, but
Mhm.
there are guys out there that uh, had it really really bad,
Yeah,
and I consider myself being because the Air Force bases are so big. We had 800 security forces guys on the
right.
base because we had I think 6 miles of perimeter to cover. So
Mhm,
we were lucky because we were basically on the base all the time. I mean, we got rocket attacks
mhm,
and things like that, but we weren't in the jungle every day
mhm.
like some of those guys. And those guys went through hell.
Right.
I mean, absolute hell.
Dennis, I'm
And
relieved when I hear that. I'm glad that's the answer. To me, it's just I wouldn't wish that part. And again, I can't speak to it directly just because I wasn't there. But
right.
I'm just greatly relieved that was so nice as that goes. Nice. What would you say were the best things that you learned as you were there that you then were able to take into business life?
Um, what did I learn? Well, number one, always being prepared
Got right?
because also the fact that I'll tell a quick story.
Yeah.
One of the guys that I worked with, his name was also Dennis, and he was kind of a goof off.
Okay.
And so they were going to kick him out of the mortar crew.
Hmm.
And I said to him, no, give him to me.
Really?
And
All
yeah,
right.
so I took him and I
Mm,
brought him to my pit and I drilled him every night for 3 weeks because we went out when it got dark and came in when it got light. So every night for 3 weeks, I drilled him. And they end up giving him his own mortar pit. He became the gunner in his
wow.
own mortar pit. So I learned that training, discipline, and the thing I learned just to jump ahead a little bit from my real estate career, which
Yeah,
was
exactly. Yeah.
initially short lived
Mhm.
because we were in a recession. I didn't even know what a recession was.
Right.
I failed, but I learned that learning is crucial
Mhm.
and that I could learn. And even though I had been maybe in dumbbell reading, it didn't really matter.
Mhm.
You had to you just when everybody else quit reading, I just kept on reading. And see,
Wow.
because you know how many people don't read books after they graduate from high school or college?
Oh, trust me, not only do I know that, I was one of them. So
Yeah,
it's not like or I just stopped. I was such a reading like, I was like the bookwormy, read everything when I was younger. I went through a long stretch
yeah.
where I didn't, you know,
And I
just
was the opposite.
You know,
I didn't do any reading until all of a sudden I got in business and I just started reading everything.
now you talk about rebooting your real estate career. How did you reboot it? I understand the results, which are impressive, by the way. But what did you take on specifically that changed your trajectory?
But what happened was I was involved in a real estate business with a couple of high school friends.
Okay.
We were all like 23, so you can imagine we didn't know anything.
Sure.
One of them was a Vietnam vet, the other one was a Marine.
Right. Oh, okay.
And
So elite forces.
yeah, and so we didn't do well, and I ended up leaving the business and driving a canteen truck,
Right.
selling coffee and donuts at job sites and stuff,
Mhm.
and tending bar at night, studying for my insurance license at the time.
Mhm.
Because I was going to start my own insurance agency. I had no idea. In fact, I always tell I was going to start it in my mother's sun porch. I never told them I was going to do that. And then it dawned on me one day, there was not even a door to that place. Can you imagine customers walking through my parents' living room? All right, I'm here to see your son to buy insurance.
Lovely.
Yeah. But I ended up uh, taking over the insurance part of the business where these two guys had. They split up, and I took over the insurance part. The real estate guy went on his own.
Mhm.
And so yeah, it was fascinating just learning all of that stuff. And then as I started to get involved in the insurance and because I told you I sold stuff when I was 12 years old.
Well, right.
Sales wasn't foreign to me. I started selling greeting cards,
Mm-hmm.
flower seeds and stuff like that when I was 12, door to door. So I figured that was one of my things. So as I developed that, what I want to say is the failure of the real estate was crucial to me in the sense that I learned so much in that 14 months initially.
Mhm.
I know I learned how to start a business. I learned about
Right.
real estate. I learned
Mhm.
about building houses because we built houses. I learned about construction, land development.
Oh, okay.
So that failure was
Mhm.
really an education for me. I mean, a
Mhm.
big education that helped me later on because about maybe 4 or 5 years later, I started my own real estate company to go along with my insurance agency.
Wow.
And so at that point, we had 20, at one point, we had 20 brokers working for us, for me, really. Um, and we were building houses, spec houses, buying foreclosures and flips. So this
Mhm.
building I'm in now is the 29th property that I've owned.
When did you know or realize that it's not just that you were proficient in certain things? Like, I clearly you had a ton of energy if you were taking on, like in your side hustles, a job that was a morning job and then bartending at night, which is a very late job. And then in the middle, navigating, getting your insurance career rolling. What I was going to ask you was, so that's how it impacted you. The question is, when did you realize that you could impact other people?
I'm not sure if I still realize it. uh, you know, the thing I had learned was how to work.
Right.
And I was never afraid of the hours.
Mhm.
And so when I had the insurance and real estate, and was like, um, I would just work, 7 days a week if necessary,
Yep.
uh, because I wanted to make sure that I accomplished something.
Mhm.
And of course, maybe a little fear in there too. Um, but as what happened is as time went on, people would ask me questions and advice, and
Okay.
I'm going like, why are you coming to me and asking me
Mhm.
questions?
Right.
But then I started to realize that I'd learned a lot
Mhm.
and a lot of practical things.
Mhm.
And so uh, part of that led to how I started the financial planning business. People were always asking us about taxes, about this, about that. So I said, I need to find an organized way to do a financial planning business, partially because I was on a webinar one time and the guy said, you should diversify your business. So I thought, well, why not do taxes? Why not do financial planning and go that route? And they can feed on each other, which they do. And so, right, so then I started studying my CFP,
Right.
So I could and they did that so I could have a logical path to follow.
Mm.
And so I got my stockbroker's license, passed my CFP after a few years, and then just went out with the financial planning business.
Love it. I guess the question was more love the like that it's one thing to be able to train yourself. I'm a hard worker. I work all the time. You know what I mean, whether it was fear or just driven or whatever it was. But there's certain things that are inherent to your DNA. And then I always wonder how it's able to be transferred to other people, such as writing books and courses and all that sort of thing. People came up and asked you questions. You come up and practical thing. When did you realize you could impact others so that you would not just diversify your career or your portfolio, so to speak, but to take it in a whole different direction?
I think at some point I know like I think every human being almost thinks maybe I should write a book.
Sure,
know?
sure.
The question is, will they? And my motto has kind of always been ready, fire, aim.
Nice.
Pull the trigger, start. In fact, my book, Suck It Up, Cupcake, is the first chapter is start.
Start.
Right. If you find something you think you want to do, just start.
Right.
And see where it goes. Build on it. Learn.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's really the secret for almost everything. Just start. Start small, but start.
You talked about, I'm jumping into the book a little bit. I love in the book, specifically the book, Suck It Up, Cupcake. All right. So I love a couple things. First off, the title. That's the reason that you and I are having the conversation is the title of the book. I thought it was great. You give an example in the book, though, that's really telling, where you talk about helping your friend clean out their garage. And you're talking, if I read it correctly, the $1,590 real estate course receipt,
Right.
and which it mattered to me because, listen, I've lived it. So it's one of those things. But why did that matter to you?
Well, here's a person I really liked, and
Okay.
so we're cleaning out this garage, and I find this course, and I'm going, God, isn't this like basically a statement on our whole world?
Mm-hmm.
People take these courses, they have plans,
Mm-hmm.
but they don't ever do anything with them.
Mm-hmm.
They don't suck it up and say, okay, I'm going to start, which is the first chapter in Suck It Up, Cupcake.
Yep.
Just start.
Just start.
Because I think so many people, that's where so many dreams go to die, is
Right.
in that whole, okay, I got this great idea, I got all this energy, all this work involved. Now what do I do?
Yeah.
And it's I mean, I think sometimes more people make money selling seminars than people actually make money from the advice they get, because they just
Right.
don't do it.
Right.
It isn't hard. Success leaves footprints, but you got to get up and follow them. And I think that's really the secret that people really need to pay attention to, is to find a way to keep going. That's why I wrote the Unleash the Power of Connection.
Yes, exactly. And we could talk about the 2-minute rule if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah.
Because to me, that's one of the things that also drew me. You give an example, a personal example, talking about the bucket and the shovel and the rake.
Yes.
I'm sorry for laughing. It's very visual. I'm laughing with you, not at you.
Yeah, no.
It's a very visual example, but everybody can say start, and
Right.
they do. So many people can talk about consistency. You need to be consistent. If you're unsure of that, go on to LinkedIn any day, any time of day, and randomly scroll for, I don't know, 2 minutes.
Right.
And you'll see consistency. But you give a really, really clear personal example. And how do you make that work for other people? Because I just liked it.
So I know my big thing with the people is, again, the start thing, but it's
Right.
also my theory is, how many excuses do you have not to do something for 2 minutes? I mean,
Yeah.
tell me, you
Mhm.
can't. And with the bucket example, where
Mhm.
I put the bucket at the top of my driveway,
Right.
and every morning I would, as I came up from the coffee shop, my minimum goal
Mhm.
was 2 minutes. And so sometimes I did 5, but
Mhm.
rain, shine, wind, snow, 2 minutes. Because what that does, that creates the habit,
Right.
and that creates the consistency, which is what, it's like if you're going to invest, okay, if you start with $25, but you start with $25
Mhm.
and you don't quit, because you don't have enough. 25 bucks isn't going to break you. And then you
Right.
go to 30, then you're 35, 40,
Mhm.
50. It's the
Mhm.
same thing in anything. I used to was doing squats every morning, and I started with doing 10 squats
Mhm.
because I had no excuse. I
Yeah.
can do 10 squats.
Mhm.
And then I started doing, end up being 135 a morning. So it's always, what is that saying I love? It says people overestimate what they can do in a day
Mhm.
or a week and underestimate what they can do in a year.
Mhm. Mhm.
And so they try to do everything all at once instead of saying, okay, I'm going to do 15 minutes a day or 10 minutes a day or whatever it is, but I'm going to do it every single day. You go to the gym, you can't go to the gym 24 hours and you're set for life. You got to go. You got to be consistent.
Right.
Consistency wins every time.
What would you say are some of the like? I'm such a believer in that it's the middle part of all of this stuff where I'll include me in things that have occurred in my life where things get siloed. You say, I'm not challenging you, by the way. I'm looking to learn. You
No,
just can't quit.
challenge
You
me.
just
Yeah.
can't quit. So, how are you able to work with people? Because you would think that everybody has 2 minutes in a day. You would think that everyone could do 10 squat or whatever, five
Right.
squats, one squat,
One squat.
right? One.
Right.
You
One.
would think. But then, again, I've had those sort of things where it's like, well, of course. And then you don't. So you can make choices and say, well, that's just not a good person, or that's not somebody I want to work with. I've heard a lot of coaches say that. How are you able to help people simply continue?
I think you can lead a horse to water. You can't make them drink, right?
Right.
But the whole point of, like, to unleash the power of connection is,
Yes.
we all get into that, what they call a valley of dead dreams,
Hmm.
where you get all the energy and then you're excited, and then the work comes, the routine
Yeah.
comes, the
You
day to
leave the
day.
you leave the rah rah wet seminar,
Yeah, the
and then you
peak.
go
Yeah,
home.
yeah. And so finding the way to be consistent in that
Mhm.
valley gets you to the other side, on where the rah 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 starts again.
Yep.
And that's why I wrote the book, because I it's about having a mastermind group,
Yeah.
having an accountability partner, having a coach, a goal buddy, whatever you want to call it.
Right.
We need accountability.
Hmm.
Left to our own devices, we all tend to flounder.
Hmm.
And so I so think that that is probably one of the biggest secrets there is to
Hmm.
find somebody who will give you the loving kick in the ass when you need it.
Right.
You know,
Right.
to say, hey, I know your story, like the girl with um the $1,500
Yeah.
tapes
The
and
real estate,
everything.
the 15. Yeah.
Yeah, somebody needed to be there to say, okay, what's your next step?
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
hold you accountable to that. So I would say to anybody who's listening, find yourself an accountability partner.
Hmm.
There's the whole secret to life.
I love the way that you phrase this as your personal gang,
Mhm.
right? But what I was going to ask is, what is the typical criteria in your mind for finding that accountability partner? Finding, like, what would you say in your circle? Just say any given circle. What's the best way to find a workable gang?
That's the $1 million question.
Right?
It is, because
Why I ask.
yeah. Well, so, and I talk about this in every book I've ever written.
Mhm.
Back years ago, I felt the need to do a mastermind group,
Mhm.
to have my own gang.
Right.
And I ran into a woman one night through Toastmasters who,
Ah,
yeah,
okay.
I'm
I'm a
big into
Toastmasters fan.
Toastmasters.
Love
Yeah.
it.
And we had chatted about Toastmasters. She came to our meeting one night and we had chatted. And then she said, well, Thursday nights I have a writing group, so I can't come to the meeting.
Mhm.
Then one day I bumped into her. We're having the Toastmasters meeting and the writing group in the same place. We ran into each other in the parking lot and we're
Right.
chatting. Excuse me. And she said, I said, I want to start a mastermind group. She says, I want to start a mastermind group.
Mhm.
So we met for coffee the week later.
Mhm.
We decided that we were going to meet. And we were going to, we pick a day. We're going to meet once a month and we're
Mhm.
going to set our goals. In fact, at that meeting, I told her about a situation where I had been to my sales group, which is a Sandler sales group I belong to,
Yep.
which is a mastermind group.
Sure.
And I had said to the group, I've got to do these staff appraisals,
Mhm.
and I hate doing them. And then I stood up at the meeting and said, if I don't do them, I will give the group $250 next month when I come back to the meeting.
Okay.
And that was probably like $500 or $600 equivalent today.
Sure.
So I told her that story, and she had told me she had money issues and things. She was like, not issues, but like was careful with money.
Mhm.
And so she said, okay, we should do that in our group. And I
Mhm.
said, okay. She says, but let's make it $500.
Oh, like
I
high
said,
stakes poker. All right.
yes.
So yeah. All right.
So she wants to pony that right up. So we started meeting, and this is where it gets tough because other people said, "Oh, that's a great group. I want to join that group." So we have people come to the meetings. Well, that's our once a month meeting,
Right.
and typically they show one time or twice, and they never come again.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So that's where it gets hard. So,
Mhm.
but she and I met every month for 7 years, and
Mhm.
no one ever had to cash a check. You get one mulligan a year, though, just like golf, right? Well,
I like that rule though, right? I think that rule is cool. One is good. Two, you know what I mean, gets a little weird, but one is good.
one is enough because otherwise it's too easy to start slacking off,
Mhm.
and then you lose that whole accountability thing.
Right.
And like I told everybody I've ever talked to about this, it's like after a while the money doesn't matter. It
Right.
becomes, I'm not going to go sit down with Margot and say I didn't do it.
Yep.
In fact, one month I promised to write 2 chapters of my book, which I would never do again, uh, because I was like 10 minutes before I got there, I sent it off to my editor and was like sweating it. But
I love these examples. The mulligan part, by the way, in my mind, what I was thinking about was this: is that I've part of my life has been, and I'm not going to speak for my audience entirely, but one of the reasons I even do this in the first place is that sense of I'm more of a chase shiny objects guy rather than a more of a, you know what, I'm just going to sit here. I've done plenty of I'm just going to sit here. I'm not saying I don't, but I am much more of the type I'm going to go here, then I'm going to go there, and folks forgive me for making you dizzy as you're watching this, but that's the part. So you said something that really sticks with me, and I think it's a great encouraging thing too for our audience. There is kind of an ease to putting together a mastermind group. There's a cliched expression, simple but not easy. So
right.
you stayed with one individual for 7 years. Can you, in your mind, and you talked about the 2 chapters of your book, right?
hmm
Do you have any sort of a recollection what you accomplished in those 7 years?
Well, I wrote my first 2 books.
2 books,
2 books. Yeah.
right?
I started a what we call the United Insurance Agencies Group, which was a cluster. So in other words, my idea was to get small agencies together to not remove their ownership, but to get together to collaborate, like
Okay.
like an agency mastermind group.
Yeah.
And we did that. We ended up getting 7 agencies at that point in time together. My one fault there was, let's talk about that. I should have just done it on my own. I had 2 partners that, were not as productive, let's say, and
I got
committed. And so that ended up falling apart. But I learned a lot from that. I made some money out of it. Got a lot of good experience. Learned that I needed to be more careful who I pick for partners.
Right.
Because you get excited, and then sometimes you're going to just grab who's ever the low hanging fruit. And that can work against you in the long run. So yeah. So it was a good experience. So I accomplished all those things. I wrote my first Find a Way workshop. In fact, I didn't have a workshop. So talk about ready, fire, aim.
You created a workshop. You created, and is that the 5-week one? You just said it, and I just want to make sure I heard you correctly. Right? Okay.
No, but what I did is I didn't create the workshop. I posted a flyer that I was going to have a workshop, and then 2 people signed up.
And then
so
you had to have one.
I had the workshop. Yeah. So I wrote it as I went along.
Right. Here's what I love, and this is why, like simple but not easy. So you had one person. And you could have just disbanded the mastermind, or you could have just put a placeholder in it until we find all the right people, and then never have a mastermind.
Right.
You know what
exactly.
I mean? So I love the fact as a reminder that this does not need to be overly complicated. I love the fact that you identify you do need the right people. And in that case, it was one individual.
Right.
It's ponying up to $500. But no one wrote a check, as you said. And 2 books are written. You create a business blueprint. You have an insurance agency mastermind that came from something from nothing. And I love that because that's the sort of things that you can do as opposed to what you're going to do. And that's why I felt like the power of connection, the way that you identify these examples, the acronym of the goal achieving nudging group, getting away from procrastination and the someday mindset, that things actually got done with you. And to me, that's the reason why people should be paying attention to you. What I would ask you, though, is this. As you have now put so many systems in place, and we'll say all, maybe I'll say all, directly related to that first system of being a kid and being out there, right? That you enjoyed that system and you kept doing it. You put all of these other systems in place. When you're working with an individual, or someone is reading one of your books or whatever, what would you say would be the first suggestions when they're feeling overwhelmed, or they've got a million ideas or a million roadblocks? What would be after the just start? Let's say, okay, just start. We're going to put that at the very top of the whiteboard. What do they do after?
Well, part of the just start is you have to make sure it's sustainable.
Okay,
I have that acronym KISSES.
Yep.
Keep it simple. Keep it simple, sustainable, easy, and supported.
I was going to say, I was going to check you on that. I'm so glad you made certain that was there. And keep it simple, sustainable, and easy plus supported. It was not a quiz on my part. I had actually just wanted to get there because, to me, again, with a million new ideas and bringing something to the finish line, I think that's really important, right? So you're thinking, hey, I'm pretty good at X. Or I'd like to build this business of Y or whatever. Start it, use the KISS's acronym system.
Yep.
Right? Find a mastermind group. Am I doing that correctly?
Yep.
Okay.
Show up every day.
Oh.
Okay. You tomorrow morning at 6:15, you will find me at Panera's.
What?
Because first of all, I'll read 2 pages of the book As a Man Thinketh.
Okay.
That's how I start my morning, every single morning. But I've been doing this for 30 years, for 35 years. That's where I write best. That's where I think best. That's where I get things done best.
Wow. Yeah.
And so I'll leave there around 7:15.
Mhm.
Then I go do my workout, and then I go to the office.
Dennis, I think just making that so sustainable for other people would be a great reason as to why someone else may want to show up at Panera Bread at 6:15.
Well, then I'll have to move.
Well,
I've had to change coffee shops in the past because too many people found me. But but it's going back to that real quickly.
Yeah, please.
I love coffee shops.
Why?
I just love them. I don't know, because I'm an extrovert. The noise. I used to tell in my first book I wrote about the fact that I would be working in the coffee shop. I would burn my mouth on a cup of coffee because I didn't see them refill it, and it's right next to me. And because that's works for me. So that's finding what works for you. Maybe you need to work in a quiet room. One of my friends, and I talked about it in the book, Bob, he had an insurance agency, but he had a separate office 2 miles away with nothing in it.
Mm-hmm.
And he would go with his computer
mm-hmm.
and no phone, no nothing, and he would think and work like a couple times a week. The environment is crucial.
I love this. All right. I'm going to treat your books like they are your family. If no one has read one of your books before, and I can't imagine that so, but let's just say there's a person out there watching, listening to us, and they're like, I need to pick up a book. Which is your favorite?
Ooh. Well, the title says it all, right? Suck It Up, Cupcake.
See? Boom. That was mine. So I was going to say, I love that. And I love the fact that again, that you make things practical, and the truth is you do. And that means a lot, because for me, as I hear you and absorb where you're going, it takes a lot of the nerves out, because it really does become the practical part does become, again, doable.
The habit, yeah.
Right, just the doable part. And I really, really appreciate that. Dennis McCurdy, I think this has been great, practical, tremendously helpful. And I acknowledge you for making the simple actually easy. So I thank you for showing up for me today, man. It was great.
Thanks for being here. This is great. I love being on this show. So I'll come back again.
I would love that. That would make it great. Right. So folks, you will not have to guess or wonder that I will have Dennis's website in the bio. So just go to it and click it thereafter. You will see the course. You'll see the books. You'll see Dennis's bio, so you know the starting point and the current point. And so we will have that. I'll have your LinkedIn link there as well too. This guy is so worth a follow and has made this not just a really enjoyable, but a fun episode for me to do. So again, Dennis, one more time, thanks for showing up.
Thank you for having me, JD. I love it.
100%. Folks, you just heard another episode of Your Message Received. Keep liking, watching, sharing, and we'll keep driving the content through your front door. John Duffin here, Duffin Media. Have a great rest of the day, folks, and we'll definitely talk soon. See you then. Bye.
And now, making its way across the finish line, Your Message Received has been a production of Duffin Media.